Hey everybody, Lara Joseph here. Welcome back to another episode. This time it's Cocktails with the Critters. Instead of Coffee with the Critters on Sunday mornings, occasionally we'll have a Saturday night live stream. And today we are here with Dr. Jason Crean, and he is a biologist and
No cocktails have been dispensed yet.
I swear I'm only drinking water. And nutrition specialist.
Oh my god.
It's tough doing these and just going on the fly.
We're also live on the Avian Raw Whole Food Nutrition group.
Yep.
If you're not a member of that, you should hop on over to Avian Raw.
Yeah. So we have two different cameras going here. And for those that may be new, my name is Lara Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center where we teach people all over the world through our live streaming services how to use applied behavior analysis and positive reinforcement with animals of all species. Our tagline is, we empower animals and the people that care for them, and we do that through education and science-based information. So tonight, Dr. Jason Crean is back here at the Animal Behavior Center again for, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time?
Sure.
Okay. And
I lost count. We were trying to figure that out on the way here. Like, how long have you known Lara? I'm like, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years?
We've been...
When was your first event? Because I was here for your first event.
Next July it'll be 8 years.
Oh my god, okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so a long time.
Yeah. So the Animal Behavior Center opened officially for business February 21st of 2013. Mm-hmm. And then you were here for our first event. You've been back for numerous events. Dr. Becker was here. Mm-hmm. Numerous people have been here.
Yep.
So do you want to introduce your special guest?
Sure. So one of my consults, this is we'll get her in here. This is Lalenia. Lalenia Goldsberry is the manager of living collections at the Nature Museum in Chicago, downtown Chicago. And if you're not familiar, it's across the street from Lincoln Park Zoo. So if you ever head to the zoo, head over there. The butterfly exhibit is so worth it alone. But she manages all of their reptiles, everything. And they do amazing conservation work and education. And we met through there. And I always say in my talks that I love consulting for the Nature Museum because they listen to everything I say. No one else does that on the planet. But we've seen the results, and they've had some of my birds on their exhibits, and I've worked with them to introduce birds into their butterfly haven, and so it's just been an awesome thing. And she was here visiting in Ohio. And when I said, hey, do you want to go with me to Lara Joseph? She was like, yes. So we just drove 3 hours from Columbus, and then we'll drive down to Sugar Creek tomorrow, where I'm going to give a talk on bird nutrition at Sugar Creek Bird Farm, their bird shop there. So I so appreciate her. And
so I positively reinforce the behavior of you driving all this way by giving you a lemur encounter.
Yeah, the lemurs took to her right away.
Yep.
They were like, oh, that guy over there in the hat, he has something in his hand, but, she's more interesting.
Yes, I'll do that again.
Yeah. So we appreciate her being here and for all the work that they do there. And they do have temporary exhibits that come through, which include... we've had parrots on exhibit and toucans. Some of my birds have been on exhibit cyclically, right,
Yes.
over time. And so they really do a really good job at managing what they do. It's incredible work. So if you're ever in Lincoln Park area in Chicago, you definitely need to check out the Nature Museum there.
And we wouldn't be able to take such good care of the birds without
Well,
your help.
I appreciate that. I'm glad someone listens to me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listen to you, Jason.
I think people are starting to see the results of shifting.
Yes.
So, to an unprocessed diet, and we're working on that here.
Speak up,
which is exactly what we're going to do tonight. So.
Well, and I wanted to say a couple of things too, because the way we feed here, we followed a lot of your advice. Our Our dogs are on raw. And I also, there's going to be some people on here that I said they need to watch in addition to just birds. Because there's going to be a lot of science-based information. We've switched our dogs to raw. I saw, and I know you need to do it properly. Find yourself, and I was like, you were my contact. How do I do this? I was nervous because it was new. I've seen results.
Well, you can just look at your dogs who have been all over us since we got here, and you can tell they're on a good diet, like right away. Their coats, their eyes, everything about
teeth.
them, their activity level, everything is just, you can just tell. And every time we put one of the Fosters on a raw meat diet, within weeks the health problems they come with go away. It's just, and I attribute all this to Dr. Karen Becker. If you don't follow Dr. Karen Becker, you need to. But she worked on me for a couple years before we switched dogs to raw. And because there's a lot of fear.
There's a fear
and
of the unknown.
Unfortunately, it's a lot of fear put out by veterinarians who aren't trained in nutrition. So we see it with birds too. Oh, you can't feed that, it'll kill your bird, or oh, you can't feed that, it'll make your dog sick. And I saw a picture of a lion carrying around a rotting zebra carcass today, and I'm like, this is what they're made for, So we're not feeding them rotting food, obviously, but they are adapted to eat these sorts of things. So
sure. I know that, like with both Levi, our deaf dog, and Snow, our deaf and blind dog, when I brought them both here, when I adopted both of them, they had the eye stains. Levi, it took me some time because that was just in the beginning stages of me transitioning. And then when I switched, I didn't notice it right away, but I noticed it through my pictures. There were no more eye stains.
And we hear that. I met somebody that's a Maltese breeder, and they breed prize Maltese, like gorgeous dogs. And they're known for the stains, right? Yeah. They all have them. And I remember her sending me a picture a couple years ago. She's like, there's no stains. Like, look at them. There's nothing. They have the dark eyes, the dark nose. Everything else is white. It's striking.
Another thing was when, Snow was November. I think it was about 3 years ago to the day we drove to North Carolina and picked up Snow, our deaf and blind dog. She was on a kibble-based diet, and she was just dropping and itching like every, I'd say, I can't remember, 25 seconds to a minute. And I just felt so bad for her. I was like, she's miserable. We switched her diet. Boom. Yeah. No more itching.
Her coat is gorgeous.
Yeah.
She is a gorgeous dog.
So,
she's a beautiful dog.
I just want to say I have two lights burn out in here. I want to say that importance is educate yourself. Do it correctly, because there's definitely ways to do it incorrectly. I also want, and this is one of the reasons I told you back at the C4AW event in June, and it's just taken me some time. I remember standing up and saying, I need to make the switch. And I am now in the process of doing this tonight with my birds. I've done it with my dogs so long ago. But I also want to tell you, a lot of the events that I go to where I'm not presenting, where I go to educate myself, it is within applied behavior analysis with humans. And I went to a nutrition talk. And I sat there, and they were talking about how nutrition affects our kids. And the main emphasis was processed food is causing a serious problem. And I'm just sitting there in an auditorium of like 350 people, and I'm sitting here going, oh, this all makes sense. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yet, I don't want to say the ones I love the most are still on a processed diet. I love them all, but the ones that got me into this work are still on a processed diet. And I'm like, when we know better, we do better. So that is why you are here.
Well, and it's the elephant in the room. No pun intended. There's no elephants here, right?
Yet.
Okay. Yet. You don't want to go down that road. But
if I'm complaining about lamber poop.
But the elephant in the room is that we know processed food is bad for us as animals. We are animals, but we ignore that fact for pets out of strictly convenience. And it's frustrating because we know that processed food's not good. And yet we're like, oh, but this says it's healthy, or this was backed by a vet, or something like that. There is so much misinformation out there that's being put out by professionals, and that's why I love Dr. Karen Becker, because she took it upon herself.
She's out there.
And they're testing these foods that don't, because none of these foods are testing for themselves. They're testing these foods. They're finding things like we need to be really, really, and the article I just posted from her earlier today is pushback. We as pet owners in general are pushing back on nutrition because we're not happy with the advice we're getting from some.
We would do that. I mean, when I go with a family member to the hospital, I am there by their side. I am their advocate, asking questions.
Yep.
I don't care if you get upset with me. This is my loved one sitting here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to be the one taking care of them afterwards. This is my right, and it's this person's right. So, I was thinking about this today because things, when they change, cause controversy because it makes us step outside of our comfort level. But I also think that this is where you learn to educate yourself. You don't have to agree with everything. You don't have to agree with me. But if you walk away learning something from it, and it keeps you up at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking, then it's worth it.
Absolutely.
So, with that being said,
She's got a healthy bark and everything.
She's barking on cue, That is Snow, our deaf and blind dog, and she's barking because she smells people in the house that are not usually here. So, that is why I contacted you the other day and said, I'm ready to make the jump.
Completely. Because you've done steps.
I'm ready to make the jump. So I feel comfortable in your guidance. Right? I know. If I wasn't comfortable, this would not be happening. So I want to know how to do this, how to do better, and the steps I need to take.
So just to give a little bit of background, we started C4AW, which is a collaborating for avian wellness. And we originally started it, Luann and I, and if you don't follow Luann on Instagram, she's Parrots Are Us. And she...
we'll try to take questions, but we'll just let's
there's
get
a
some
lot of
information
scrolling
out.
going on. She came to me and said, hey, do you want to collaborate? And here's why. I've been following your group. I've been following your advice. I see amazing things happening with my birds. Like, we need to get this out there because the predominant message is not good that's being sent out about nutrition. And as someone that works in the zoo world, I said, after a little while, I think it needs to be more than nutrition because we know it's behavior, it's enrichment, it's training, it's overall health, right? So there's 4 tenets. So we started collaborating for avian wellness with those 4 tenets. And of course, you're the behavior guru. So we brought you in. So we started this, and then we started promoting the small businesses that we value, that we want to stay in business because they produce amazing products. And it's things that are unprocessed and, which are few and far between, unfortunately. And then that grew into something even more where people were like, well, I only have 1 bird, or I only have 2 birds, or I only have 4 birds. And I can't buy all of these quantities and pay shipping from everybody. But we still wanted that product in people's hands because we knew it was the best. And so we started the bundle boxes. I did not need a 13th job. I did not need it, but Lou is very persuasive. And then, so we started bundling these things. We worked with our partners, these small businesses who are like, sure, we'll produce a special thing for this, and we'll produce a special size for this so that, we can get people doing better. So, what we're gonna do is give you your first box today. Instead of shipping it, I just brought it with me. So
Okay,
here it is.
Let's turn
and I'm
this.
handing it to you.
Well,
and now
thank
you're
you.
all excited. So now it's hers.
All right. Yeah.
So we're gonna open it up and talk a little bit about what's in there and why.
Okay.
What those things are.
Okay. Do you want to take his camera? Let me.
Yeah, you might
Bear
be able
with
to
me.
just twist it down just so we can
okay.
see the box since it's on the tripod.
Okay. And then I'm gonna take.
No, the top.
Oh, you want to take the camera off?
No. Just
This.
I think that
Right.
we can just angle it down, right?
Yeah, you get. There's like a pivoting head on the top of it. I can't get it. I don't know.
That should be good. No, that should be
Okay.
good. That should be good.
Okay. Let me turn this around. Okay, so what is this?
So this is the ultimate box.
Okay.
The ultimate bird box. It has everything in it for dry and fresh food. You can buy. You can get boxes that also have like the sprouters in them, which China Prairie sent you. You have sprouters, so we're going to look at those. But you can also get one of those fresh boxes as well. But this has all the food stuff that you would need to get your birds eating a healthier dry, which we usually do in the evening later, and then the fresh, so sprouts and soaked items and things like that. So when you get a box, this is Lou's influence, pretty paper, not mine. But we do have a guide that helps with, what it has a little bit of information for me, but also, what comes in the box, how to sprout, a simple guide, how to add that to the other things so that you can make a whole food mash and, things like that. So we do put a simple guide in there, but Dee at China Prairie is amazing with the information that she includes with her sprouters and everything like that too. So there's plenty of resources out there so you can figure out how to do it. But what comes in the box, we always have freebies. So True Leaf Market donates seeds to us. These are for growing, so you can actually grow edible things for your birds as well. So we always
And this
throw
is
a
probably
few
isn't
seeds in
just
there.
birds.
No. I mean, these are humans can eat these too. Reptiles, my tortoises and bearded dragons absolutely love these flowers.
I eat flowers in my martinis.
Yep, there you go. I mean, with alcohol, I'm sure they're great. Don't do that with your birds at home. And then, True Leaf Market always, puts really fun stuff together for us, but different seed packets and things like that, so you can start growing some food for yourself and your birds.
And I have a 10,000 square foot greenhouse.
I know, it's made for that. And then Indonesian Parrot Project gives us, you get a different card each time you order. Or we at least try to give you a different card, but just to get the word out about the amazing work that Bonnie Zimmerman's doing with the Indonesian Parrot Project. More from her later. So we've got fresh stuff and we've got dry stuff. So when you usually what most people see as soon as they open it is, oh god, there's bugs. These are freeze dried. They're not alive. That's why they're in plastic bags. And the freeze drying is superior process to the to dehydrating. So dehydrating, there's oxidation because it's sitting out, for a while. But these are freeze dried, so they're flash, and so you're maintaining more nutrients with these. There are so many beneficial things about insects: fiber, healthy fats, things like that. Enrichment wise, they're just,
So
different.
these are what?
Crickets, freeze-dried crickets and freeze-dried mealworms.
Yummy.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Lemurs will love them.
Will they?
I bet they will.
Okay.
And so that's one thing that we add, and you can just add those to any dry food. And everybody gets those, including my chickens and quail and toucans and, turacos, everybody.
Okay.
So then we've got tree nuts. Now, with the larger birds, we include the in-shell nuts because this is amazing enrichment to get that beak working. But tree nuts are really like the best omega-3 source that you can give the large parrots. So walnuts are one of your top 20 as far as omega-3s.
Okay.
Those are omega-3s are critical. They do not survive processing of any kind. And so they have to be in the whole food form.
Yep.
And so we give them the whole nuts in the shell. Walnuts are really great. Almonds, not an omega-3 source, an omega-6 source, but they are still beneficial. They still have a lot of benefits to them. Peanuts, no peanuts.
Okay.
They're
So
not-
you're
they're not
talking
a
tree nuts. So I'm thinking,
nuts.
what other nuts are there besides tree nuts? So you're like your
So we've
peanuts.
got-
Your,
right, which are not a nut. They're actually a legume.
Okay.
So those aren't even a tree nut.
That is why you are here.
So we've got walnuts, we've got hazelnuts, the filberts,
Okay.
we've got almonds, and pecans. And so these are just powerhouses of nutrients. And fiber, more fiber. Fiber feeds the microbiome. That's all that healthy bacteria that keeps your
People need to be
animal body
listening
going.
to this too. Yes.
Yeah, and that's one of the up-and-coming sciences, and the more we find... I worked with some microbiome scientists at Howard Hughes Medical Institute over a couple summers ago, and the word that kept coming up when it came to gut biome was fiber. And so the right types of fiber are important, and that's what you get from whole food. So tree nuts are important, and even seeds. Seeds are extremely valuable. If I hear one more person demonize sunflower seed, I'm going to lose it, because sunflower seeds are very nutritious. They just shouldn't be the predominant part of any diet, nor should anything else. Nothing should be the predominant part of a diet.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Good.
So then, and speaking of, so we've got Tops organic seed mix, all in one seed, and this has grains. You know, when you see an ingredient list that's all words, just simple words
That you can
and
understand.
there's nothing added. So barley and rye and spelt and kamut, buckwheat, millet, and pumpkin seeds. So you've got all of these whole foods, unprocessed, organically grown, and that's more fiber and a lot of
So this
great
is
nutrients.
just one of the boxes that
This
people
is the
have.
ultimate where
Okay.
you
So
get
this is,
enough for dry food and for fresh food.
and is it for just the larger birds?
Nope, you can get a small, medium. We
Okay.
even have a mini now.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay. So then I'll keep going with dry. So Texas Freeze Dried Naturals, they freeze dry. Suzanne at Texas Freeze Dry, she can freeze dry anything. She's incredible. She sent me for my birthday freeze dried ice cream sandwiches. I did not need them, but thank you, Suzanne. They were amazing. But this is chop. So it's freeze-dried chopped veggies and freeze-dried sprouts that she gets from China Prairie. So she freeze-dries this so that not only can they get, you know, fresh sprouts in the morning, but now they can get freeze-dried ones as part
At
of
night.
as part of their dry diet at night. Yeah.
Okay.
So an awesome, and when you see something freeze-dried, it maintains its color, it maintains its shape, it doesn't shrivel up and turn colors like dehydration does. So that's why we want to make sure we incorporate some freeze-dried food in the dry mix. Also, so China Prairie, and I really wanted her to not put my picture on here because I wanted to actually sell this product. Hopefully this doesn't deter you from buying this product, but I helped formulate this with Dee and Luann, and she basically asked us, like, what are the ingredients that are not readily available in bird food that are important powerhouses of nutrition? Hemp seed, definitely one of them. Hemp seed is super, super important as far as omega-3 fatty acids. And so there's hemp seed in here. There's Niger and some sunflower hearts. There's canary grass seed, which is another great source of healthy fats. And then we looked at the red siskin. And the red siskin is this little bird here. It's an endangered bird.
Yeah.
And one of our partners
Caroline?
from the Avian Preservation and Education Conservancy, Dr. Caroline Evstethian, and her husband Rob Horsberg are breeding these birds. And they have them on a whole food diet now. And their production is great. So they're producing a lot of babies. This is necessary. Like, we have to have this. So we said, okay, well, let's look at the natural history. What are these birds eating in the wild? Well, they're eating fruit, they're eating flowers, you know, things like that. So we looked and we said, okay, well, we have access to some of these things. And with their deep red color, we wanted to make sure they had a healthy beta carotene source. So these are calendula flowers. There's some rose hips in here, and red pepper flakes. And so we wanted to make sure that we had some of those things, including, as well as papaya granules. So we have some beta carotenes in there for them. Birds love it. They go through it like crazy. But this is a great omega-3 source, which is why we called it Omega. And we called it Conserve because we're part of the proceeds go to fund the red siskin conservation
awesome.
program.
That's
so
good to
thank
know.
you, Dee, for that. So once we have the freeze dried, now we can do.
If you guys have questions,
dehydrated.
we'll
And I
send
know
them towards
Lou is
the-
answering some questions
Yep,
on
she's
there too.
on here because somebody already commented when you were talking about freeze dried. Freeze dried sprouts are to die for us humans. It's Lisa Smith.
So these are freeze dried. These are dehydrated fruits with some sunflower seeds that we can add. Now keep in mind, this is getting added to everything else.
Gotcha.
So this is
So it's
not
just-
a predominant part of the diet.
This is one ingredient,
Exactly.
one part.
Exactly. And there's some apple and cranberries and things like that, banana, things that dehydrate well. So, like I said, so a little bit of sunflower as well, which are great enrichment. But blueberries, things like that, awesome stuff. And then you've got... Oh, we did this already. You get 2 bags of that because you can actually soak the all-in-one seed mix. You can actually soak this as well and feed it as part of your fresh food in the morning. So not just dry. So you can actually do both. The dream mix. So there's my picture again.
That's
we
you
were-
with Rocky
with
the
Luann.
rock star.
Yeah, that's with Rocky. That
Yeah.
picture, you took that picture.
I know.
And yes, I asked permission to use it.
I know.
I know. I just want to make sure everybody knows. But the Dream Mix we put together because we really wanted to have some whole food items that were unprocessed. So there's some chopped whole nuts in there. There's some Ceylon cinnamon, which is the cinnamon that's lower in coumarines. Those are blood thinners. So the Ceylon cinnamon is a better choice than the typical cassia cinnamon you would find in other bird foods. Freeze-dried peas, some rose petals, coconut, things like that. So we call this our dream mix because these are all things we wanted in bird food for a long time that we couldn't find. So we work with Tops. Tops is like, yep, we can make this happen, and they did. And they said it's been extremely popular.
Good. Sherry says it would be great to see everything mixed together and how much you mix.
Well, you just mix everything in the box.
Okay, good enough. That's my kind of instructions.
And that's one of the reasons why we have the serving, like the sizes of
That
the
you
bags,
do.
because then you can just throw it all into a bin, keep it sealed, put it in a cool, dry place, and you've got food for however long
It
you
lasts.
need to. Yeah,
Awesome.
Right?
And one of the many reasons why I finally said let's do this, outside of the nutritional aspect, was I am so busy. Mm-hmm. I don't even have time to sleep.
Right.
So in order for me to feed nutritionally sound, this makes it easy because you can pick these to be delivered, once a month? Yep.
You can have
right
these,
to
you can
your
do a
door.
subscription box, and if you do the subscription, you save, you save a certain amount of money, like getting it every month. But some people are like, well, one box is going to last me 3 months.
So
then you can do that.
Okay.
So yeah, you can kind of pick and choose based on what your birds eat.
And I will keep people up to date on how this is going with my birds throughout the week, throughout the month, throughout the year. I'm really looking at what it will do with sunshine. But also one of the reasons I wanted to do this was I sat down and did the math on what we spend a month here. I won't even tell you which our dog food bill is, but our bird food bill, and then add the lemurs on top of that. I sat down and I went on the C4AW website last week and looked at all the packages, did the math, and I was just like, tell me if I'm wrong, but this looks less expensive than what I'm feeding.
Right. And you're getting higher quality food. So I have my birds set up much the way you do there in concrete, so I see what's on the floor.
Yep.
And there was a lot of waste when I was feeding the old way.
I know. I walked in and one of my cages, I was like, there's $10 of food on the floor.
Yes. I know every time a macadamia nut hits the floor, I go, oh my God, or a blueberry at this point. But yeah, it's just shipping alone saves you so much money, and that's one of the reasons why we did this. We did it because people were asking. Like I said, I didn't need another job, but we know that we're getting this into the hands of people, and when they see the stuff, that you can tell the difference. You can just tell the difference. So this product here.
Oh, sorry.
I
was trying to get your attention.
People know how I feel about the word pellet. And you and I have had tons of talks about this over the years.
Yep.
This is the only pellet I can recommend because it's cold pressed. It's not heat treated.
Because the heat is what
denatures
protein.
It denatures things. It also transforms things into some pretty harmful stuff. Inflammatory compounds emerge when you heat foods, especially grain, seed, or nut-based foods. And so this is cold pressed. There's, when you look at the ingredients, all of it makes sense. And they do a lot of it's whole food basically. And so this is something that, and what I love is they don't claim that this is a complete diet like a lot of pellet manufacturers do, because it's not. It's part of a diet. And so, when you look at the ingredients, I'm immediately impressed because I don't see the word soy anywhere. I don't see corn gluten meal anywhere. And if you don't know what corn gluten meal is, good, because you shouldn't. It's a cheap protein source that we get from China that we add to pet foods, and it's not good. But it makes the protein percentage on the bag go up. So things like that you should not be seeing in pet food, let alone your own food.
That's why gluten-free is becoming so popular. No?
Well, I mean, gluten-free is a different, that's a different, like wheat gluten and things like that are causing, it seems to be more of a emerging health problem with, especially our society right now.
Yeah.
But usually that's because people are having rejections. And honestly, and I don't want to get into human health.
Sure. Okay. No, my bad. I'm sorry. That's my fault.
It really is, like, I don't think humans should be eating anything that's from a grain, like seed, a grass. Anything from a grass, we don't do really well with. We store it.
Gotcha.
We store it.
We get fluffy.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so when you remove things, like when I removed all grains from my diet, I dropped 85 pounds in 10 months. And it was just the grain. So bread, pasta, all the stuff that our tongues love is really what our bodies don't really know what to do with. Our birds, however, different story, because they're adapted to eat different things.
Okay.
So, but like I said, this is the only pellet I can recommend because it's not heat processed. And like it says, corn, soy, and peanut free. And so an awesome product, and as part of a diet.
We're only part way through the box, and I love what I see.
So anuts.com, amazing people. They've been in the Chicago area for a very long time. Many people have used them. And these are just shelled whole nuts, not treated, not roasted, whole raw nuts. What's nice is you can feed these dry, but you can also soak nuts overnight, and you increase their digestibility and nutrient availability.
I need to know more to do that. I can find out that.
You throw them in water
overnight
before bed. You get up and drain them and rinse them, and you're done. That's it.
All kinds of tree nuts?
Mm-hmm. Any kind of tree nut, as long as it's out of the shell. Yep.
Okay.
So I will literally take these. Sometimes I chop them and then I soak them for the smaller birds. But I add soak nuts to my mash every time.
Oh.
So there's always soak nuts in there.
Okay.
And this is not something like this is not some new discovery. This has been like people have been soaking tree nuts for a long time, especially people who are on vegan diets because a lot of vegan recipes are nut based, and so there is a book called Soak Your Nuts by Karen Calabrese, who owns a chain of restaurants in Chicago. And her restaurants are vegan and raw. So it's pretty interesting what happens to the cedar nut. And it's common sense when you think about what happens to a cedar nut when it gets wet. It starts transforming into a plant. So its nutrients change. Right?
Interesting.
And that's why we sprout, for example. So, but soaking is a huge step, and it's a beneficial one all the time. So.
Okay. Interesting.
And then Graywood Manor. So
Yep.
Tease and I go back. Yeah, you got some there. Tease and I go way back because I talked to Dr. Becker came to our bird society in Chicago years ago and did a talk on tea. And I had known about teas because from working with toucans, we know that zoos had been using decaffeinated black tea with their iron sensitive species because that the tannins in the tea bind to the iron and kind of carry it out of the body instead of seeding it in the liver. And so lemurs are another one that are iron sensitive. And so we use the iron out tea with lemurs, with lorikeets, toucans, starlings, mynas, lorikeets, all those things. Anything that's prone to iron storage disease, they get the iron out tea that Graywood Manor puts out. And I formulated the teas with Graywood Manor, so I know exactly what's in them, and you will know exactly what's in them because they're whole food. Everything is clearly, it's not processed. You can see it all. So, this is in Powerhouse. This is a great support for immune system. All of these things, there is research on all of these different ingredients for what their nutritional components are and how they're beneficial to animal physiology. So things like jasmine flowers, rose hips, hibiscus flowers, things like that are all in there, and all of these words you should recognize. Oregano, elderberry, echinacea, decaffeinated green tea, things like that. Tulsi is is a great. It's an adaptogenic, which means that it helps balance the body instead of making it go either way. And that's what's nice about these things is it's all about trying to maintain a balance in the body. And so we use this dry in the dry mix, and we brew it for them to drink.
Okay. Yep. I'm on my second pitcher of tea this week. We are using the Pretty Plume right now.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I even had a cup myself.
Yep.
That's why my hair looks like this.
So we do put an enrichment object in every box too. You never know what you're going to get.
Never know.
But this is from Wacky Wings Bird Toys.
Okay.
And if you haven't seen, go to C4AW.org. Her website's linked on there, Wacky Wings Birds. But this is a all stainless steel forager, and I love that because I can wash this very quickly and easily with my messy birds like toucans. Toucans have that big long beak. They get it all gummed up with blueberries and all this fruit, and then they manhandle their toys. And so I can throw blueberries in here, and they will spend all kinds of time, pushing this aside, trying to get the blueberries out of there, and they just have a ball with it. But all birds love this.
Yes, I can see this for the lemurs too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything to get them, thinking and working for their food. So, in last month, Royal Avian, Michelle Carollo at Royal Avian, they donated a skewer.
A what?
Skewer. Stainless skewer. So, anything we can do to get birds moving, is beneficial.
Okay.
Flight is not the only exercise.
Sure.
That's like gotta be said. Birds moving around, any exercise is going to be beneficial because we often hear like, oh, I'm not going to give my birds any kind of fat because they just sit in a cage all day. They don't have to sit in a cage. You can have them working. You can be hanging stuff like this where they have to hang upside down and climb and move around. any exercise is good. Birds already have the highest resting metabolic rate of most animals.
Yeah.
Resting.
There's a
So
present.
they're already there.
A presentation I give where part of it focuses on how much energy the brain takes. So if your bird can't fly, doesn't fly, won't fly, what have you, however, that's why I like the foraging toys, the mental stimulation. I have seen a dog or a bird sit for 2 hours and forage and they're pooped. They're tired. Yep. They're not moving much, you know.
Yep.
But so
they
that
need to,
mental stimulation.
Anytime we can get them mentally and physically stimulated, it's going to be beneficial for everybody. So okay, so that's the dry mix, and you literally that's already proportionately done. So you just throw all that in, and you'll have exactly what you need for however long you need it.
Okay.
Now I know Lou has 4
There's
larger
a lot
birds.
more in there. Yeah. That's a lot.
And she has a hyacinth and Versace. I can't remember what hybrid that is.
I know.
Macaw, huge macaw. And Kramer, who's her African gray. And, this lasts her a month for all of those birds.
All of those birds. Big birds.
Yeah. So that's the dry stuff. And I offer dry food later in the day.
Okay.
This is what's left now is fresh food. And so we can talk about that. Now, the question I get most often is like, what can I do that's simple? Right?
This all looks pretty simple,
Soaking.
right?
Soaking simple.
Okay.
Because you do it while you're sleeping. You just throw something in water, you walk away, you wake up, you rinse it, you feed it. So it's pretty simple. So Lou and I worked with Deanna Garrett at China Prairie to formulate the Thrive product. And I said, here are all the things that you can just soak overnight and then feed without any worries. Like with beans, the few beans that you can soak and sprout, you have to sprout. You have to let them go through the process. You can't just soak beans. But with these guys, you can just soak them and feed them.
Okay.
So there's buckwheat, there's some grains, there's lentils, split peas, things like that, some sunflower hearts, and you're just going to soak this overnight and rinse it and feed it the next day. You can also sprout this. So if you want to let it go to sprout for another day or so, you can also do that, and there's directions on there how to do that. But this is something that you just soak, and you're ready to go. The sprouts, and because you have bigger, birds on the bigger side, this is the cytosine. There's also a micrograin one that's for smaller birds. I sprout both because I have both sides birds, and I throw it all together in a mash. But this is sprouting. Now, I'm going to put this aside because we're going to talk about sprouting in a second.
Okay.
We also throw in a microgreens kit where you can actually grow your own microgreens. You just throw this near a window. You mix the seeds in with the coconut coir medium, and you let it grow. And then after about 5 to 7 days, you can just start clipping these things and throwing them right in your food.
It.
Very simple. True Leaf has these kits that are incredibly easy. I hear people all the time saying, I have a brown thumb, I can't grow things. This is super simple.
I'm going to let you know what that looks like in a little bit, because that's me.
This is arugula, but they have many, many different types. But that's trueleafmarket.com. And if you order more kits from them, you just use C4AW as your coupon code, and you'll get a discount.
Okay.
And they have so much stuff there. I have to stay off their website because there's just so much stuff there.
That's probably like Christmas to you, isn't it?
Yeah, I do love to grow food. And then this is a stabilizer, and we add this to the sprouts while they're sprouting, not while they're soaking in the initial soak, but while they're sprouting. This is a microbial deterrent just to keep the sprouts clean. We'll talk more about that later. And then this is another product that we worked with China Prairie to develop, and that's called Nourish. And Nourish is a whole food supplement. This is a powdered supplement, and it has ground up flax seeds and hemp hearts and chia seeds, things like that. All three of those are heavy hitters when it comes to the omega-3 fatty acids. And then you've got poppy and sesame and coconut powder, moringa powder. That's really big right now because of all the discoveries that they've got as far as how nutrient dense it is. Hibiscus and calendula flowers, dandelion leaf, papaya leaf, apple powder, and then a little bit of clay, which is great for minerals. So this, you can do lots of things. I actually mix a little bit of this in my hand feeding formula to feed chicks.
Okay.
But this you can sprinkle right on your raw food and it sticks to it because the raw food's wet. So the sprouts and the soaked stuff, you can just throw a little bit on there, mix it up, and then it coats everything and the birds are eating it when they're eating their other stuff.
Okay.
So it's a great supplement, and I'm not huge on powdered supplements, but because this is a whole food supplement, we know exactly what's in here, unlike a lot of supplements where they say they put something in there, but you don't know if it's really there. So,
wow.
That's the ultimate box, okay?
That's
And
a
really-
lot.
Sorry, chicks.
Yes. So she hand fed some of my Arasari chicks.
Okay.
So that's why we know. So let's talk about the sprouter.
Okay.
So Dee sent you some sprouters. And it was funny because when we first started talking to Dee, she was like, why aren't you using my sprouters? And I'm like, well, I just throw everything in a strainer in a bowl and, that sort of thing. And I was doing individual ingredients. And I realized real quick, like, this is so much more work. This is so much simpler. So now
I'm really excited about trying to
sold
figure
on
out.
This. This is amazingly simple. And I know a lot of people out there that have tried sprouting before. They have, I'm trying to remember, they tried sprouting in like mason jars. I was trying to remember the word mason jar. And there's only one way for air to get in mason jars, right? And a lot of the times they tell you like you have to keep it upside down, things like that. So it doesn't allow it to fully breathe. This does, and it's because of basic physics. So it's pretty cool. So you have this vented lid, and then you have the strainer that they sit in right inside, and you have this piece inside so that if you're sprouting really small things, you put that in, and then you can keep them from going through the mesh at the bottom. Okay. So everything that you're going to sprout is going to stay in this strainer the whole time. Okay, it never has to leave. And then this is where it'll sit, and you'll fill this with water to do the initial soak. So what I do is I
should be eating this.
Yeah, I know. That's good stuff. So I'll fill this about halfway with the sprouting mix.
Okay.
And I'll rinse it under the sink. Just rinse it real well. And then I'll make sure it's completely submerged in water. And then, depending on how long you want to soak, the directions say 8 to 10 hours.
And the directions are in here?
The directions are right on the bag.
Okay.
And
perfect.
And yes, this comes with this guide, but it's super simple. So you put what you want to sprout, you cover it with water, you put the lid on, and you walk away, and you let it go overnight. Now so when you're looking at this, you have to see like how this works. So you got the stuff soaking. Then in the morning, you pull this out and you rinse it. Mm-hmm. And then what I do is I use the stabilizer and I just put it in the water, and then I dip it in and let it sit for a minute or so that this gets all over the sprouts. Okay? Then I drain it and I put it right back in. And now that stuff is sitting on the sprouts, I can just leave it for the day and rinse it later in the day. Now notice that this is not going all the way down now. Mm-hmm. You see that? Mm-hmm. So it can go all the way down, but if you rotate it on these little lips, it stays here, and then you do this. Now what's happening is that when things are sprouting, they generate heat. Okay? It's a product of metabolism. And these seeds are metabolizing because they're growing. And so it generates heat. What does heat do?
Rises.
Right? So the heat comes through here and then passively is pulling fresh air into the bottom through here. So now the air's flowing because of this raised lid.
Did Dee come up with all this?
I think but I think the people that she works with did.
I was going to say, that's amazing.
Here's what's cool. Being a biologist, and she's totally going to laugh at me because she knows this, but prairie dogs, termites, they build homes with air conditioning. And it's because, like prairie dogs, if you've ever seen prairie dog towns, they have holes in the ground, but they also have hills. And what the idea of this is, and same thing with termites, is as the wind comes across the plains, as it goes up their hill, which is one entrance to their hole, their homes, it pulls the stale air from their homes underground, and pulls in cool air from over here. This is the same premise. Animals figured this out way before we did. So now we've got this where it's pulling in cool air from underneath and going through the sprouts, and this is why my sprouts are twice as fast as when I was using them with the mason jar.
Okay.
So, and you just, a couple times a day, you take this out, you rinse it, you dip it in the stabilizer water again. You just add some drops of this to water, and then you just let it sit with that on it until the next time you sprout. Now, I've got shortcuts. I work 12 jobs, you know this. So what I do with this is I will soak everything in here for up to a day.
Okay.
And then I rinse, I do the stabilizer, and I let it sit for 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours. And then I rinse it again, and I mix it in with my mesh. So 36 hours, I've already got tails on these things, root tails, and they're ready to go. So there are ways that you can, kind of play with this to make it work for your schedule. Some people think like I have to sprout for 3 to 5 days with some of these things. You don't have to do that. This is what Dee has in here is extremely user-friendly. These are things that are all user-friendly, and you can get what you need pretty quickly.
Okay.
So,
okay, I'm just thinking.
Yeah. And you can rewatch the video and listen
I
to
know,
this
that's why I'm having a hard time trying to pay attention to questions, things that are coming up and paying attention, so I'm definitely going to rewatch this. This is enough to get me through a month, correct? So I don't have to worry about freezing. I don't want to freeze anything, correct?
So people that are making bigger quantities of stuff can freeze a mash.
Okay.
But you can't freeze it for more than 2 to 3 months, very, very tops, because then you start seeing some degradation of nutrients, especially some B vitamins. So I kind of make it the 8-week rule. Like if you're going to freeze something, only freeze it for about 8 weeks.
Okay.
Then you're safe.
Okay.
But yeah, otherwise you're good. So how do I make a mash? I take the sprouts. I take the stuff that I just soak overnight. I take the tree nuts. Oops, that's me.
What do you get going on at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, chicken for my foot.
Oh.
And I soak my tree nuts. If for smaller birds, I just chop them up. Easy peasy. And then any chop. So vegetables, and we're gonna go to the store later probably and get you some produce.
Yep.
And I throw all of that into a bin that I can seal and put in the refrigerator. And then I've got, I usually make about a week at a time, and I just pull from that bin every day. I need it to be simple, and I need it to be simple so whoever's feeding the birds when I'm not there can do it with ease.
Yep.
And so they're still getting, at least 50 ingredients a day, at least 50 different food items a day. So they're getting the diversity even when I'm not there, because I'm giving them a mash that's all fresh in the morning, and then the dry food that we looked at earlier, the dry mix, that you just have to all throw together and keep dry.
This sounds pretty
fruit,
simple.
And then I just add fruit. So, and in my talk tomorrow, actually at Sugar Creek, I'm highlighting some of the fruit that's available now this time of year and the benefits of that. So things like apple and squashes and things like that, you can add all of that to a mash.
Okay. So, just a couple of things. Like after this, we're gonna go shopping, right? And we're gonna be live streaming that in the Parrot Project and Team Thrive.
Yep, Team Thrive will be going shopping, possibly after she's had a drink, so it may be entertaining.
Okay, that would be entertaining.
It's the first time for me.
Nothing like having a scotch and then going grocery shopping. Just throw it in there. I'll take it.
Yep.
How much? Don't worry about it. Okay. Do we?
And I know Dee is commenting on my Avian Raw group right now. If you're just feeding the sprouts, so she's got there's all kinds of options. But that's what's nice about this is there's options, and you can do what works for you. There is not one way to sprout, despite people online who seem to think like you're going to kill your birds if you feed them sprouts. Ignore that noise. This is very simple. It's extremely biologically appropriate for our birds, and you can't go wrong.
Okay. I'm just going to turn this around so we can charge and talk at the same time. Are we done going through the box?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of things, like we'll take a couple of questions, and something I wanted to ask you is, will you define, I guess I should have asked you this. Sorry.
I thought you were going to ask me for a kidney or something. You were very serious.
No. How do you define what a processed food is?
So typically heat.
Any kind of heat, like scrambling an egg.
Yes, we heat. We heat things to kill things, right? Bacteria, things like that, fungus, and we heat things to make them have a longer shelf life. We don't need to do that for a lot of things. Humans, we're not real good with consuming bacteria, right? We're not carnivores, right? We're not herbivores either, but we're not made to eat. We haven't adapted to be eating a lot of raw things as far as animal meats go. Plant-based, you probably know that it's hard to get a lot of nutrients out of a lot of plants because plants protect themselves pretty well, and so it really depends on what you're talking about, but generally my definition, heat. Okay. We want to avoid heat whenever we can. There's some exceptions. Sweet potato is more digestible when it's lightly steamed.
Okay.
You don't have to.
We were just talking about that.
You don't have to. I don't feed my birds heated sweet potato. My birds get raw sweet potato. Some people think that that's bad or harmful to the birds. It's not. Eating a huge quantity of it is bad.
Somebody asked me this week that was in from out of town because we were showing how we feed the sweet potatoes. And we were feeding them raw, and she's like, "Isn't that bad for birds?"
And
that's
just like, there's a lot of misconceptions out there about stuff. Really, the only true thing out there is about avoiding avocados. But avocados are extremely nutritious, and birds eat them in the wild. The only reason we can't feed them from the grocery store is because how they're treated to get on the grocery store shelf. That's why. Otherwise, they'd be awesome for birds, but we can't feed them because there's a risk of that toxin that is naturally in them when they're unripe. That remains because we speed them up. We speed them to ripen so that we can get them on the grocery store shelf.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'd be fine. And birds are eating them right off the trees. They're not dropping out of the sky. So but it's one of those. Really, that's the only hard and fast rule. Birds can have small amounts of garlic. That's not going to hurt them. Birds can have, really it gets down to diversity. Can birds, should birds have seeds? Absolutely. They just shouldn't be the predominant part of the diet. Should birds have fruits? Absolutely. They just shouldn't be the predominant, nothing should be a huge part of the diet. And that's where we get these. This is where we get those we hear those myths come about, because yes, when birds are on an all seed diet, they're unhealthy. If they're on an all anything diet, they're going to be unhealthy. That's just the way it is. So increasing the diversity is really important, and all of these things have a lot of nutritional value, and so we want to make sure that we're giving them the options to consume those things.
Okay. Well, if we wanted to keep this at an hour, I don't remember what time we started.
Probably 5:04.
Okay. All right. Well, we really want to keep this at an hour for numerous different reasons. I know if you guys have your questions, go ahead and ask them. Will you go back and answer them?
Yeah, we can
after
try.
the live
We
stream?
can try to do that some tonight as well. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
For those of you that are in Team Thrive and the Parrot Project, stay tuned. We're going to be live streaming shopping at the grocery store, and it's a specialized grocery store, but I guess it doesn't have to be. But for more information, check out C4AW.org. If you guys are going to be in the Chicago, not even if you're going to be in the Chicago area, but next weekend we have the C4AW event. You can register, and you have to register to attend the event. I know,
And to watch online.
And to watch online.
And you can do all of that at C4AW.org.
Okay. And we have 4 people coming from the Animal Behavior Center.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty
Awesome.
cool. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a
Yes,
pleasure
thank you.
having you. It was great meeting you.
Wonderful to meet you too.
I look forward to
Thanks for carting me all over Ohio.
yeah, hooking up with you in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or if
Sure.
you guys want to come back here to the center.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So with that said, Jason's going to jump on later, answer all questions. If there's anything directed towards me, I'll go through and look at it too. If you guys want to learn more, if you want to get the subscription, I'm getting it. I'm getting it. You can find that, what package is right for you at C4AW.org.
Yeah, there's lots of options.
Yep.
Yep.
Somebody was asking about shipping, and Luann said it's included.
Yes, shipping's included in those prices. Yep.
Okay. And with that being said, if you share this, not if you, that was 2 different sentences. Share this live stream. Help us get this information out to organizations, people, whoever you think may be interested. And don't forget to check your free flight.
Yep. And stop fearing food. That is the number one thing we hear all the time is people are afraid to feed things because someone told them something on the internet, or their vet said that they heard something one time. We have to stop fearing food. So if you do share this and you hear noise and say, "Oh, but I heard," or "Hey, this is crazy," or "That guy with the hat is a nutcase," you need to stop listening to the noise and walk away and know that what you're doing for your bird is right.
Yep. Start asking questions. With that said, if we want to wrap this up, my name's Lara Joseph, Dr. Jason Crean. You can find out more about the work that I do here at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. You can always email me, Lara, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. How do people find you?
You can go to C4AW.org, and my social media outlets are available there. If you want to join Team Thrive, you can go to beaksbirdhouse.com and click on the Thrive button.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Great. I'm excited.
Thanks for
See you
staying with
guys.
us.
Thank you.